right across.
Okay, good evening to our virtual members. Quick audio check. Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Hopefully everyone had a great summer. Weather was cooperative, no major storms, so I think we had a good one. So we're excited about what the second half of the program year has in store for you as members, and really maximize the value of your membership. And as always, thank you for being members. Okay, biggest news is our 20th anniversary member appreciation symposium, our first since 2019, pre-pandemic, is going to be Monday and Tuesday, October 7th and 8th, so a little more than a month away. That'll be again at the Silver Spring Civic Building where we were in 2018 and 2019. 2 days, 14 PDUs, $0. So you can't beat that, or we hope not. We in the past have been a little loose with your membership. If it was a few months expired, we were okay with that. This year, because of what we're paying for the facility, we're not going to be able to do that. But for a $20 annual membership, just this event alone pays for itself. And then if you have any colleagues or guests that, as we get closer and more speaker announcements will be coming out over the next few days and week, we're only asking $20 a day for non-members and guests. So our theme this year is going to be AI and project management and sustainable development. It won't be too dry though. Our committee is working on a good mixture of soft skills and technical skills. So we know that we just partnered with NIH for their healthcare symposium, and outside of a few presentations, it was very technical healthcare project management. So we'll have something for everyone at this one. Ms. Trayvon in the back has flyers. We are still, we feel pretty good about our keynotes and our panelists, but we still have room for more breakout. So if you're interested in potentially giving a breakout session, or if you think your company would, grab a flyer on the way out. We're also still soliciting sponsors. So if your company or you're a self-employed entrepreneur would like an exhibit table, come talk to us, and that'll be in the newsletters as well. But we know we've been promising the return of the symposium for a few years now, so we're happy everything's coming together and look forward to giving this to you as an annual benefit. Okay, and speaking of free, our 20th anniversary member appreciation dinner will be right here in these hallowed basement halls Wednesday, November 6th. That's a free 4-course buffet dinner, which will be out in the atrium. Our featured presenters will be the dynamic duo leadership techniques, Lisa Hammer and David Newman, presenting servant leadership in the 21st century digital age. And they also last year wrote the engagement matrix. So for our in-person members, we have 2 signed books to raffle off. So Karen. So when you came in to register today, everyone should have received a lottery number or raffle number. Yeah, a lottery would be nice.
Okay, first winner. Okay, last 3 numbers, 878. 878.
You have a winner.
All right, way to go, Gail. Oh, okay.
Donating it back, so we're keep drawing.
Okay. Yeah, I have a copy too, and I've already read it. Okay, so the next number 890. 890. Hey. Yes. I'm glad Mr. Ashby won. He's back in person with us since he hasn't been with us since before COVID. So welcome back. We're glad to see you. Okay. Last number. Okay, 866. 866. Okay, we're gonna try. Okay, we'll try one more.
Oh.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, most of us in the room, or at least identify ourselves as AI curious. PMI's second free-to-member artificial intelligence course for 5 PDUs is the data landscape of Gen AI for project managers. So if you're looking for more opportunities to receive PDUs or have a general interest in AI, this is a great course. Plants a lot of seeds and will continue programmatically to continue to be AI curious together. Does anyone here need a job or have a job and want to speak on what that may be? Sure. Do you want to come up? Or? Okay.
Hi, Allison Peterson. I work for Enterprise Community Partners in Columbia. We're a nonprofit that Jim Rouse's company, real estate developer of Columbia. We build affordable housing. We're looking for a part-time project manager to work with our HR department on some HR related projects. We use the Workday system. So if anyone is interested in a contract position in HR.
Yeah, thank you, Peterson. Sure.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline, and I work for a company called USP, a standard setting organization, and we're looking for 2 IT project managers, one to lead a team of developers. I'm going to really encourage you to check out our website, usp.org, and take a look at some of the jobs we have. A great company to work with, and it's right down the road in Rockville, so it's minutes away. So look us up.
Thank you, man. Yep, yep. And now we have a somebody seeking a job.
Hi, my name's Alan Ashby. Most recently, I was running a large delivery organization for SAIC, civilian government agencies, multi-$100 million portfolio. I got caught up in a recent leadership change, executive change there, and I'm looking for my next leadership opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, and in addition to the symposium, we're also working a virtual job board as a chapter offering, so you'll be seeing that soon as well. So for our 3 job interests, feel free to grab them after the meeting before they leave. Okay, if you need PDUs, as we progress through the rest of the year, our chapter YouTube channel has more than 90% of our chapter meetings, so those have a claim code associated with them, so good background noise when you're teleworking. We're one of the few chapters in the overall PMI international landscape, more than 200 chapters, that has a accompanying Toastmasters chapter. So to get a little bit more information and exposure, we have their chapter president.
Thanks, Matt. Good evening, everyone.
I am Supreet Kaur. I am the current club president for PMI MC Toastmasters. And for our group, we meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month on Zoom. And then we also do an in-person session on the third Wednesday meeting at Potomac Library. And we're going to be there until October. And then November and December, we're switching to Davis Library. And as far as our next meeting is coming up, and it will be next Wednesday, and we start at 7 o'clock with like a little bit of a social time, and then 7:15 we usually start our meeting, and it runs until about 8:30. And something that's an advantage for PMI members, if you do become a Toastmasters member, one, it helps with learning communication skills, or if you want to better your communication skills, speaking skills, presentation skills, you can do that, as well as for us as PMI members, we have to have PDUs. So for us, the advantage is that if you become a member of PMI Toastmasters, you can earn up to 54 PDUs in 1 year. And that definitely helps with like our 60 PDU requirements within our recertification period. And then also, if you do become a club officer, an added bonus there is that for serving in a club officer role, you can get an additional 10 PDUs as well for serving in that capacity. And for more information, just come see me. I can give you our business card, and that has all of our website information and the link to sign up for the virtual meeting. And with that, I'll turn it back.
And they also plan on having an exhibit table at our symposium, so they'll be there both days as well. Okay, thanks to the Frederick Keys who are finishing up their season this evening. We had a great project management night out at the ballpark in June in partnership with PMI Baltimore. So we look forward to continuing that tradition and maybe even improving it to a night at either the Orioles or Nationals next year. But a good time. Professional Development Alert, the Atlantic, the media outlet, has their annual festival over the next, in 2 weeks. Elected officials from both sides of the aisle. So this is a bipartisan event, best-selling authors, technical visionaries and CEOs tackling many topics that are impacting today's not only American landscape, but also international landscape. So a little hefty of a cost, but $225 for 2 days with a laundry list of fringe benefits, and we can work with you on how to report those PDUs. So just awareness that that's happening in a few weeks. Also next week, next Tuesday, our former chapter board member, Laura Bernard, who founded Project Management for Change, that runs the Project Management Day of Service every January, wrote her first book. So that is available in all bookstores and book outlets for $30. You could pre-order off her website, impactenginebook.com, and get early access, but just a week, and we'll have signed copies to raffle off at our October meeting. So if you're free the first Wednesday of October, you have a 1 in 40 to 50 chance of winning the books, as we found out today. Our sister chapters, PMI WDC just had their big annual symposium a few weeks ago, so they're a little light on program content as they energize there. But there is a winery social at a winery in Bull Run in Northern Virginia in October, and then they already have their holiday happy hour as well. So PMI WDC is the biggest chapter in the world, so it's always good to socialize with them. PMI Baltimore has a member appreciation event. That should be September 8th, so we'll edit that. But this coming Sunday, that's free to all members. I think their chapter dues are 20 a year, so same as ours. I personally am a member of all 5 chapters in the area, and it's comes out to, I think, $120, and it's good exposure to all the other great work that the chapters are doing. 2 weekends from now, they're also doing a project management expo for $10. Professional headshots will be complimentary with your fee, and several speakers there. And then PMI Silver Spring down 495 is partnering with the University of Maryland in November for Maryland Project Symposium, all-day event for $150 and 8 to 10 PDUs. So. In addition to the other chapters, our education partners are doing great things. A lot of in-person training events, as well as virtual options, certification certs. If you're interested in some of the new project management certifications that PMI is coming out with, the construction professional, to diversify your brand and portfolio. These are great partners to work with. And now we'll invite our board member, Bill Ziegler, to introduce our speaker.
Hello, I'd like to introduce Mark Levin, our current speaker. I've known Mark for a number of years. We've served on alumni committees together. He happens to be the Executive Vice President of the Chain Link Fence Manufacturers Institute, the International Professional Speaker, including many PMI events. He's spoken here before when we were in the old place. He's founder and current president of the Montgomery Blair High School Alumni Association, which is where I know him from, and award-winning author. And he's got 15 plus years at Institute of Organizational Management. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Mark Levin.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting me back. This has already been an expensive evening for me. My wife asked me when I was leaving, where are you going to be? And I told her we were going to be over here in Rockville. And she said, is there a dinner involved? And I said, yeah, there is. She said, what kind of food? And I said, it's Italian food. And she simply looked at me and said, don't you dare eat anything before you get up there. And I said, why? She says, you know what's going to happen. I said, what? She says, you're going to drip something on the front of you, and then you're going to get up there in front of all these people, plus the people that are looking in, and it's going to be embarrassing. I said, but you're not even going to be there. She says, trust me, I'm going to be embarrassed. So fortunately, I bet her $20 that I would not spill anything. You'll notice that I have my jacket buttoned up. So I'm already out $20, so I don't want anybody giving me a hard time about that. It's going to be bad enough when I get home anyway. Bill mentioned that in addition to a number of other things, I am also a Montgomery County native. I grew up in Silver Spring, and I was the founder and still am the executive director of the Montgomery Blair High School Alumni Association. Do we have any other Blazers out here? One, well, that's okay. Well, in Montgomery County, you know, there's only 2 kinds of people in Montgomery County: people that went to Blair and people that wish they went to Blair. So all the BCC people hate me now in doing those things. Bill also mentioned that I have been working with PMI for a number of years, over the course of a number of years, including me with this chapter. And when I was getting ready for my program, I was going back through and looking at some of my notes from some of the other programs I had done. And also I went back to the last time I was with this chapter. So we didn't want to be repeating programs for some of the people that might have been involved in that. And something popped up, and I just wanted to share it with you because it was one of the times that I was working with PMI Global, with their headquarters office. And I don't know if it's, is this where, oh, it is. You can see that up there. We were getting ready for the Region 2 event that was coming up in Chicagoland. And the PMI staff person that I was working with at National was a guy named Ron McDonald. And I think Ron's still there. Does anybody here know Ron McDonald? Okay. Anyway, so we were having our meeting in Chicagoland, and Ron called me and he said, we want you to come out and do the region. And I had done a couple of regional meetings in Canada and here in the US, and actually did an international webinar. So I went back and I was reviewing my notes about that particular meeting, and it reminded me that we were actually in Chicago. We were actually outside of Chicago in a place called Oak Brook. And the facility that we were at was Hamburger University. And I thought it was a joke until I got out of the Uber and they said, no, this is it. Did you all know that there was a real Hamburger University? There is. I now am a emeritus speaker, I guess. It's something like that. So I went in and I said, well, this is really cool. And I went up to the registration desk and they said, and I said, have you seen Ron McDonald? Because Ron had hired me. And this is where they sent me. So it was an interesting meeting. It was an interesting meeting. One of the other things to get into the program, one of the other things that Bill mentioned was that I am also, and have been for a number of years, the executive vice president of a group called the Chain Link Fence Manufacturers Institute. Yes, there is an association for everything. And for the last 40 years, I've actually been the executive director of the Chain Link Fence Manufacturers Institute. My background is in association management, and most of the associations that I have worked with as a staff person have been in the construction or construction-related fields. This particular group, the Chain Link Fence Manufacturers, that's our attorney up there. Most of these people are actually manufacturers. They manufacture products other than chain link fence, but they join our association for that particular product line. So most of my background and most of my work with project managers and some of the things we'll be talking about this evening are going to be related to either this organization or similar types of groups. So I'll be giving you some examples of that. And one of the reasons that I want to bring that out is that our members are going through a lot of the same things that you all are doing as far as working with your clients, with your companies, with your staff people that you're working with, and what you're doing for a living. Our members are going through a lot of the same things in the workplace. The project management people I run across are basically construction related, but they're going through a lot of the same things. And my manufacturers are going through it. We had our meeting out in Seattle just recently, and we brought in a speaker on, surprise, AI, because that's what everybody is bringing speakers in on. This was the guy that we happened to use, and I just thought I would mention him to you. He's not from the construction industry, but he is an AI expert because he's been doing this for really since a lot of these types of things started working. His name's Paul Gibbons. If you're ever somewhere down the line looking for a really, really good speaker on AI, it seems like you've got plenty of programming on AI, which should thrill you to know that the first topic we're going to talk about tonight is AI. So we're going to ask you all to participate in the program as we go through. And as it said on the first slide, that we're going to talk about the things that I know that you all are facing every day. AI is just the one thing on here, talking about another new generation now coming into the workforce and having to bring those people into what we're doing as professionals. COVID changed everything as far as how people go to work or want to go to work, and we now have to deal with that as well as getting our jobs done. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability. I know that this is there's information that's on the PMI website about that, but we're going to try to get a little practical on this. I'm going to ask you all to participate this evening and give me some input so we can talk about things that are germane to what you're doing. This is going to be a very AI way of taking things. I just want you to raise your hands and just in answer to these questions. Instead of doing something on the cell phone, we'll just do it here real quick. All right, show of hands. How many of you would describe yourself as, I'm all in with AI and I feel comfortable with my level of proficiency? Show of hands. Oh, both of you. Okay. Well, maybe I don't feel so bad now. How about this one? I know it's already here and I'm starting to get with the program. How many of you are in there? Some of you have been told to answer that way. I'm getting pretty tired of all this AI discussion, and I'm hoping I can retire before it catches up to me. Okay. Yes, all the people with gray hair can put your hands down now and doing that. Or can someone help me get back to my home screen on this stupid smartphone? How many? I'm the only one that's in that one too. I'll tell you, just in terms of the age of the speaker in this room, I can remember back to when I was graduating from Montgomery Blair High School. And artificial intelligence, we actually had it back then. We just didn't call it that. Some of you, as I was going into the University of Maryland, I found out that they already had something at the college level that was called that. We had a different name for it back then. Raise your hand if you've ever seen Cliff's Notes. Okay. Now, knowing this group, I'm thinking a lot of you probably just look down your nose at that. We had a whole closet full of these in my fraternity house. And that's how many of us got through school. But when you think about it, it's not that far off from what we're talking about here this evening. So let's see, and we're going to ask you to do a little self-rating here, okay? Paul Gibbons, who spoke at our meeting a few weeks ago, he gave us a little quiz. He said, here are some of the common AI terms that you'll need to understand if you're going to be spending any time in this space. So I want you all to just rate yourselves. If you want to take out a little piece of paper, and then if you got anything to write with, you can do it. But I'm going to give you 10 terms here, and you can do this mentally if you want. I want you to give yourself a point for each of these things that you could reasonably tell me what it means, right? When I just give you the term, right? So just give yourself 1 point for each correct answer, okay? If you think you could explain what artificial intelligence is, you don't have to raise your hand for these, just, okay? If you know what machine learning is and could describe that to somebody, okay? Give yourself a point. If you know what deep learning is and can describe it. I'm seeing all the hands that were up before. Neural network. If you can describe that, give yourself a point. If you can describe what an algorithm is in relation to the AI topics that we're talking about. Natural language processing. If you understand what that is or could explain it to someone, give yourself a point for that. Supervised learning. See, now in my language, that means the teacher standing over you so you don't cheat on the test. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here. And obviously you have unsupervised learning. Reinforcement learning. And number 10, hyperparameters. Okay, how many of you had a score somewhere in the 1 to 5? Okay, looks like I've got about a third of the group. Anybody in the 5 to 8? That's pretty good. Okay, anybody 8 to 10, in that range? Okay. So we got a cross section of people. So, I mean, the reason I'm asking, if you know these, obviously, is just trying to get a little bit of a feel of where we are on this particular topic. I'm not going to go through, by the way, and explain all these to you. If you wanted me to, I could tell you real quickly what they are. You want me to show you real quick? All right, I'll just go see if you know artificial intelligence. These are just definitions that I pulled by using AI. No, I did. Simulation of human intelligence and machines that are programmed to think and learn. They give examples on here. Siri and Alexa were early versions of this type of a thing. Machine learning is a subset of that. It focuses on building systems that learn from data to improve their performance over time without specifically being programmed. So they're machine learning. And that's recommendations like Netflix and Amazon. Now they're using the information that's there to spew out other types of information. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses neural networks with many layers, hence the deep, to analyze complex data. This is image recognition systems that use facial recognition. They're building layers of information on there so that they can identify what's underneath there. Neural network is a series of algorithms that attempt to recognize underlying relationships in a set of data through a process that mimics the way the brain operates. And this is where they use as an example again, it's used in handwriting recognition because the machine now can duplicate some of the things that that's going through. And an algorithm is the set of rules or instructions that's given to AI to help it learn. And the algorithm behind Google's search engine is the one that ranks people's pages. Those are just some samples here. Let me finish these up real quickly. Natural language process is a field of AI focused on the interaction between computers and humans through natural language. Translation services like Google Translate. Supervised learning is a type of machine learning where the model is trained on labeled data, input and output of pairs. So spam detection in an email where the model is trained to label those specific things. Unsupervised learning, as opposed to that, is where the machine starts progressing on its own without people there. Customer segmentation and marketing, it can think for itself to start doing those kinds of things. Reinforcement learning is a type of machine learning where an agent learns by interacting with its environment and receives feedback in the form of rewards or penalties. And the example they use is training a robot to walk. And we've seen all these commercials of things that are going on. And it was one of the little graphics that was up here, but those things. And hyperparameters are parameters of the learning algorithm itself, which need to be set before the training process can begin. So that sets down the parameters under which it's supposed to be learning. So the fellow, Paul Gibbons, that spoke to our group said that our people need to understand a lot of this before they can really understand what's underlying a lot of AI. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Here's where I need you to help me out. I want each of you now, and I want you to talk to the other people at your table. This is where we do a little bit of sharing. I want you to tell the other people at your table, you don't have to do all three, but each go around real quickly, and each person at the table, I want you to tell the other people at your table, we'll just give you a few minutes to do this. Tell the other people at your table, in what ways do you expect AI to impact your job in the next couple of years? Either something you're already seeing, something that's on the horizon, where you can envision it going, or maybe in some cases where you're going to be responsible for making something happen. But try to be specific to your job and talk about where you see AI having an impact on how you get your work done and how you get the work of the other people working with you to get that done. So we're just going to give you about 5 minutes. So just real quickly, if you could go around and just share maybe the first thing that comes to your mind with some of the other people at your table. And those of you that are looking in on the, you may want to put some of your ideas into the chat, and we'll get Matt to talk to us about some of those. So let's take about 4 minutes, go around real quickly, and just the first things that come to your mind about what you've seen or you think is going to be happening in the next year or so.
No, my, yeah. Yeah. So that. So it just takes try not to. Parameters and it's so PI. What I'm saying is that was when
Okay, we're just going to be able to take about maybe another 2 minutes or so. So make sure everybody gets a chance to add a little something in if they can.
Maybe we can start.
Sure. Okay, in the interest of time, what I'd like to do if I can, and before we go any further, I would encourage you to keep this discussion up among yourselves, exchange some cards or something from some of the people you're talking to, because I think this is where a lot of your education is going to be coming from. But more importantly, one of the reasons people join chapters and become involved in whether it's virtually or in person is so they can make contacts with people that are facing the same things they're facing and get some solutions maybe shared among some of your peers. So we'll do that. Matt's going to just read a couple of them that came off through the virtual audience.
Yep. So after I go through these, if your table had anything additional, you want to send a wrap up, that'd be great. So we had a few predictive planning, predictive analytics. We had proposal writing, position description writing, more with job searches and proposals. One organization's launching Microsoft Copilot. So if you've experimented with that, there's a small charge, but it's worth it. And even with Copilot, you can ask, make a graphic art of, two cartoon characters playing basketball, and it'll do it. I've just lost the respect in the room because I've asked them to do that. But in addition, flyers, marketing materials, I think if you let AI do the hard work for you, you can focus more on meeting your customer needs. We had a few customer service things and a plug for PMI Infinity. And going back to the opening remarks, PMI has really invested in AI, and they look at that as the future of project management. So, anyone have a table that had any other ideas?
Let's have somebody share one. I'm sorry, we're not gonna be, I'll have to repeat it. To generate, generate text messages. Oh, test.
Like test plans, test scripts.
Okay, test scripts, not text messages. Yeah, need to get it down to my level a little bit. How about somebody else? I heard a bunch of people start talking about some of the things they're doing. Yes. Interesting. She said that what's going to happen to call centers, and if you are a customer of a certain cable company here in the Washington D.C. area that uses an X frequently in their advertising, yeah, the call centers are gone because now all you do is you text their virtual assistants. Now, in the back of my dull mind, I think somebody's actually sitting there typing back to me, but I think they're a little bit further along than that. But some of those things that are going to happen. What else?
Cybersecurity and a very positive evidence, possibilities for analyzing abnormal behavior. It's going to be huge.
It is, and we're going to talk about cybersecurity for briefly, because it's another thing that's a very big issue for my members, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But cybersecurity is going to be around for all of us, and people get excited about the fact that it can take so much information load. But are there people out there that are skeptical about the credibility of some of those things that are getting put into it? I'm just throwing out some rhetorical questions. Bill?
So the other application that I've seen when you're currently working on, that's integrating AI into current weather satellites, so that the data that's
Okay.
Instead of being downloaded as raw
Right.
disseminated, it's analyzed on the satellite. That's that.
Speeding it up, so you're getting
Analysis
real data, real time, with the analysis already added into it, as opposed to uploading and downloading and transferring it to other people. So there's a lot of things that are going to be going on. Now, remember, some of your companies are going to be involved in the things you just talked about. Some of your clients are going to be involved in some of the things you're talking about. So we're going to be looking at all those different things over the next period. I wanted to just share a couple of statistics with you before we move on to something else. This is from the Forbes Advisor Survey. 77% of people are concerned that AI will cause job loss. 77% of the employees that they surveyed. Okay. And this is the part that's interesting. In the next year, 400 million workers could be displaced because of AI by the year 2030. 400 million. Now, there's another side to that. AI is going to create 97 million new jobs. And that's probably at the low end, because we don't even really know where this is going to be going in the future. Over 60% of business owners, this is interesting, 60% of business owners say AI will increase productivity. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. And the manufacturing industry, now this is where my members live, the manufacturing industry, is expected to see the largest financial impact from AI. No, they're talking about, in this case, they're talking about a positive financial impact. Okay. Now, why would they think that the financial impact? Why would the manufacturing segment think that's going to be positive for them? Yeah. Here's what's interesting. If you look at these things, 400 million workers displaced, okay? They're going to create 97 million, but there's the population of the United States. And here's something else that's interesting and something you have to think about. These 97 million jobs aren't necessarily going to go to any of those 400 million workers. They didn't say that they're going to hire 97 million of the people that got laid off. All they said was they're going to create 97 million new jobs. And that's a different story, isn't it? When you start adding the people into what's going on.
This is worldwide.
Yeah, this is worldwide. Okay, and this is why I wanted to point out with my chain link fence people. I asked them to go around at our meeting. We had this consultant that was in speaking. I asked them to go around and I said, tell me how AI could impact your bottom line positively in your business. These are manufacturers, suppliers, mostly manufacturers and suppliers to the construction industry or the fencing industry. And we went around and my national president said, I can see how I can consolidate my sales force. I can consolidate my call centers. I can consolidate this and this and this. And then another one of our distributor members said, I could see how I don't need 5 people doing this anymore. I can let AI do this and send us information, and then we can do other things with it. And I looked at my president and I said, Bill, you just described 5 people that are currently working for your family business, who you said within the next 2 years, you're probably not going to need if you can get this doing all that productive work for you. And I was very honest with him. And I turned to the other guy and I said, Peter, you just described 3 people in your family business. Now, these are big companies, but they started as family businesses. And their people have been around with them for a long time. And so one of the things we have to think about, it's not just AI, but it's in a lot of the things that we do. Technology is great, but there is a human side to everything we do. And if you're a project manager and part of your job is keeping teams together, keeping people focused on what they're going to be doing, there's got to be somebody out there that is thinking about some of these things that are going on. And it hasn't hit home yet, but they're talking about all this happening in the next couple of years with these numbers. And I think it's something that all of us need to think about from a personal perspective and also from a business perspective in some of the things that we're doing. Now, the second thing we want to talk about is the fact that we now have one more generation coming out into the workforce. I was going to ask you, well, show of hands. These are the 4 main categories, main generations that are currently in the U.S. workforce. The older generation in the baby boomers, what some people call the silent generation, and all this, they're not in the workforce anymore. Most of the baby boomers are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So most of them are not in the workforce anymore. The baby boomers was the largest generation numerically that ever came into the workforce all at once. We have any baby boomers in here? Okay, got quite a few of them. The next generation it was identified was what they called Generation X. Does anybody know why it was called Generation X? I didn't know. I thought it meant that they were clueless. So, but I'm a baby boomer, so that doesn't. Do we have any Gen Xers in here? I should have asked that question before I said you were clueless, shouldn't I? That doesn't go on my evaluation, by the way. The millennials were so named because they were the first generation of Americans that was going to be growing up in the 21st century, reaching adulthood in the 21st century. And the Gen Zers, I'm not even sure where the Z came from, but if you take a look at the numbers down here, these were people born from basically 1996 on, and you'll see different numbers on these kinds of things here too. That means these people, the oldest of these people graduated from high school 10 years ago. They are now coming into your workforce. And they're already in it. And they're going to be coming to your classes and they're going to be getting their certifications and they're going to be working in your field. and they're going to be working in your companies and working with you and working for you. So we have to take a look at what makes them a little bit unique. So let's take a look at those. Okay. Show of hands real quickly on this one. Fact or stereotype for Generation Z, right? They're addicted to their phones and social media. How many of you think that's a fact? Okay. None of the young people have got their hands. Okay. Actually, it's a stereotype. Okay. Addicted, think about that now. Addicted is a very strong word. Addicted is a strong word. Maybe that they're more comfortable using it in ways that some of us are not as comfortable, but addicted is a pretty strong word. So I think that's more something we need to get away from. And I know when you walk into restaurants and see people on their phones, you think about these things too. They're more open and accepting of diversity than previous generations. How many of you stereotype? How many of you think it's a fact? It is. It's a fact. Just look at any high school in Montgomery County. I mean, they're growing up in a different world than we grew up in. Now, some people maybe look at that as, that's change and, nobody likes change. But the fact of the matter is, it does change the type of person that you have to deal with and what their expectations are of their workplace and their environment where they're going to work and doing those kinds of things. Gen Z members are financially irresponsible and obsessed with instant gratification. Yeah, that's obvious. I shouldn't say it's obviously a stereotype. Okay. It's a reason, a rationale sometimes we give people for behavior that we don't understand. And we have to be careful about doing that when these are now our coworkers that are there and finding out more about them. They're the most educated generation in history. No, it's a fact. They are. Now, some of those trends may be changing depending on who gets elected in November, but it is. They're the most educated in American history. Gen Z is uninterested in politics and civic engagement. Okay, somebody said distrust over here, and maybe there is some distrust in this thing, but uninterested, I'm not sure is correct. How many of you, when you were in high school, had to do some kind of public service to graduate from high school? Okay. What percent of today's high school children have to? 100%. We have institutionalized some of the things that are changing in our society. And for some of those people, you can't be involved in public service activities and not have some understanding of politics and civic engagement and what's going on. So I think you have to be careful about stereotyping. They prefer experiences over material possessions. How many of you think that's a stereotype? How many of you think it's a fact? It's a fact. That I know these people don't work for you. It doesn't mean that they're not concerned about having a good career and a good job. What they're saying is there's got to be a balance. And they've grown up in an environment where people are open to hearing about those things. We'll talk more specifically about some of these in a second. They have a short attention span and cannot focus on anything for long. Well, the youngest person in the room said it's a stereotype. It is. Well, if it's a stereotype, then what's going on? Why do we have that stereotype?
Distraction.
Well, we used to call it multitasking, right? But it's not really doing a lot of things at once. It's the ability to go between things faster than some of the older people are. So we see that as somebody who's being non-attentive. That doesn't mean they're not absorbing it. They just absorb it at a different rate than the other generations do. So we have to be careful about those kinds of things too. They're highly concerned about their mental health. Fact, absolute fact, okay? And that is something that's going to impact every workplace. Every job you go into, it's going to be because there's going to be some expectation of the people that are coming in from this generation that somebody's concerned about it because they're getting reinforced. They're also growing up in an environment where that's something that's being highlighted more and more. So we have to take some of these things into consideration when working with them. Gen Z doesn't value traditional work ethics and prefers to avoid hard work. Yeah, I've never.
Oh, one question,
We have a question?
where's your source material for this?
I don't have it on there.
Okay.
I'll get it. We send it out.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last thing, Gen Z is environmentally conscious and takes action to protect the planet. That is a big fact, and that's something that we as managers working with these people, we need to think about that because it's not just young people anymore. Finally, after a long period of time, we're starting to see some of the things move through. So I want to show you this chart real quickly. There's a few things on here. This was, this is the Gen Z, this is Dell Technologies. This is a study that Dell Technologies did. I thought this was interesting. 53% of Gen Zers prefer going to an office rather than working full-time at home. Now, that's barely over half, but it's more than I think a lot of people would have thought. 75% expect to learn from their peers on the job. So that means the younger people coming to work for you expect you to have an impact on their learning curve, creating an environment where they can learn and be successful in doing those kinds of things. And then this one I thought was interesting. 77% of Gen Zers said they're willing to be technology mentors for other people in the workforce. Like the rest of us, well, seriously. So if you look at these, they kind of add up a little bit to those stereotypes versus facts that we were talking about before. So where does this leave us in terms of working with people from that generation? Just a few quick ideas on here. Make mentorship a two-way street. Too often people come into a workplace and they talk about, we're going to assign a mentor to you. Now, what image is probably going through their mind when they say, we're going to assign a mentor to you? Who? It's Bill. Yeah, we're going to assign a mentor to you. Bill, come here. We got some newbies for you, right? I'm not sure that's the definition of mentorship. Okay, if we think of mentorship as a learning opportunity, then it should be able to go both ways. So I think that that's something that's an opportunity for us to engage younger people in the workplace. If they feel like they're getting something out of it, which they're willing to do, then maybe we can help them out. Try to balance competitiveness with team accomplishments. This is really hard for baby boomers. Why are we snickering, baby boomers? We always wanted to be the youngest to get to the top of everything. We wanted to be in charge. And that's why baby boomers are still hanging around in their 70s and 80s, because we got in control and we don't want to give it up. I'm talking about me, not anybody in this room. But appeal to the competitiveness or the sense of competitiveness some of these younger people have, but the end result is the team is successful. So then you can get them working together and maybe competing as a team rather than competing with people on their team, competing as a group. Give them opportunities to be responsible for projects from start to finish. That's just another term for delegation, isn't it? Why don't we delegate? Why don't you want to delegate to Gen Zers? What are you afraid of? They're not going to get it done, or they're not going to get it done when? In time, or they're not going to get it done right, or they're not going to get it done the way I would do it, which of course is the right way. And that's why we don't want to delegate. One of the other reasons we don't want to delegate is we know that we haven't prepared them to be successful when we delegate to them, because we hoard all these things in here. So what you want to do is maybe start off by talking to them about prioritization skills. And I know this is, yeah, we're gonna get through. And I know this is in the PMP guide and some of the skills you're talking about. Maybe starting off with helping them with some prioritization skills and saying, boy, you've been really taking to this pretty well. I'd like to put you in charge of something. Would you be up for that? It's different after you've tried to help them gain some skills than it is to just dump it on them and say, go do the best you can and let me know what's going on. So we need to think about that. Face-to-face interactions are important. Now, face-to-face for them may be video versus physically being in a meeting, but that's face-to-face. And here's another thing to think about. Get them involved in PMI. No, I'm 100% serious. You should be bringing some of your Gen Zers to your chapter meetings and letting them aspire to be like some of the people in this room and to learn from some of the people in this room. Let them take that back to some of the people they're working with and find out that PMI is supposed to be a career booster for you. If you use it the right way, it can be. A lot of them aren't involved in professional organizations. They're still just getting started in their career. So we need to give them opportunities. Okay. Now, the other thing that's happening with some of the younger people is they're coming out of the hybrid workplace, right? And I'm going to go through these real quickly on here. This shouldn't surprise anybody. This is just a graph, and this is from, this is a Gallup survey. Okay. Not surprisingly, during COVID, the green here is exclusively remote. It was like everybody, right? And then people started going back to work. But what happened? It started to level off. Over here was the hybrid, where they worked sometimes, and sometimes they stayed at home. They started going back, and that's starting to level off. But now that's at 53% that we were talking about before. People are okay with having a hybrid work environment where they do go into the office, not necessarily every day, but at least some of the time. They're open to those kinds of things. And then, where people have to be on site went from 60% before COVID. It's only back to 21%. And guess what? It ain't ever getting back over 50% again, I don't think. Not in the near future. The key is going to be productivity, of course, and people understanding what they need to do to be successful. Okay, creating and managing in hybrid workplaces. Getting input from the employees is really important because you're not seeing them every day. Okay, making sure they're responding to some of the things that you're asking for. Especially with younger people, give them options so they feel they got some input to what their situation is. But don't give them too many. Just give them the ones that are within your purview to give them, and don't get them confused with some of the other things. We all have to embrace technology. That's kind of a given. This one's really important from a leadership perspective from you all. Maintain your company's culture. You have to make sure that young people understand what this is, because if they're not in the office every day, maybe they're not soaking up that culture the way we did when we were in that office every day. Whether that culture was positive or negative, at least we were there and we could be part of creating that. I thought this was an interesting one. If they're not required to come into the office every day, make sure they're not on top of each other when they get in there. Remember the old, where you have the partitions and behind everybody, the scenes from the old movies from back in the 50s and 60s, the rabbit warrens or whatever they called it. People aren't used to that now. So we need to be careful about just doing it. Okay. And be careful about the people who are working remotely. Did they get the message on everything that's going on? I know we're going through these really quickly. By the way, where's the Matt? Okay. If it's okay, if you're interested, I'll be happy to send these slides to you, and I'll get that credit from the. Pardon? Okay, we'll make sure that these get out to you. Okay. How many of you are dealing with sustainability as an issue? A specialist. It's incredibly important. I think this graphic is really important also. Okay. Sustainability is about people, planet, and if you're in business, profits. And where can we find some happy ground right now as we're trying to take care of our planet that's out there? Who cares about sustainability? Oh, that was a rhetorical question. No. I mean, I know that we all do. Who do you work with that cares about it? Who? Well, the Gen Zs do. Governments do. How many of you work on government projects? Any of you have any type of sustainability requirements in any of those projects? Yeah, you're starting to get all of the infrastructure was required to have certain levels of sustainability things going in with them. Private companies are completely into this. If they can show some corporate citizenship by being involved in sustainability, it's good for them. Developers, Believe me, they're interested in it because their clients are interested in it. Homeowners and property owners are concerned about it. Gen Z employees and your customers for your company, they're concerned about it. Employers are concerned about it, obviously. Nonprofits and fund and the people that fund the nonprofits, who was up here before was talking about working with a nonprofit. Okay, those people are concerned about what you're doing, right? Out there with the money. Project managers should be concerned about it. I just want to show you this very briefly, and then we're gonna finish up and take questions. One of the things that we're doing with the chain link fence manufacturers is we are heavily into sustainability and working with our members' customers to show them that chain link fence is something that they can be using as part of their sustainability priorities in their company. So I'm just going to show you this real quickly. What we've done is we've put together, this is a mock-up of, this isn't on our website yet, but it's going to go on our website. So what we've done is let me back it up here. If I can get this, oops, down here. 12 reasons to choose chain link systems for LEED certified green buildings. Okay. So what we've done is we've actually gone through and found 12 specific ways that using chain link fence on a project for perimeter security, whether it's around a house or whatever, there's 12 different ways that it can earn LEED credits for the contractors, for the designers, for the architects, for the engineers, for the building owners. Okay. So what we're trying to do is build in this thing. And one of the other reasons that our members are involved in doing this, because it's good business, it's the right thing to do. And that's okay. Sometimes doing the right thing is important because that becomes part of your organization's brand. How do you create sustainability, credibility? I would say you all need to become subject matter experts in this area. Knowing whoever your customer base happens to be, or your client base happens to be, or who you're working with, become subject matter experts in sustainability, so that as you're going through your management, you're working with other people, you can build some of these things in. Okay. Revise or update your company's strategic plan, mission, bylaws. We're doing this with our association, by the way, to put our commitments to sustainability in writing, so that people know where we're coming from as an organization. Add sustainability questions to your client checklists, interviews, project meetings. Add questions in there that maybe nobody's bringing up. When you bring them up, that shows you're thinking about other aspects of what's going on. Be prepared to monetize the value of a commitment to sustainability. Now, this is from a business perspective, okay? It helps with your branding. It can help with employee retention if you're talking about some of these younger people. It can help with cost control because you're not using some of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The non-sustainable trash removal or watering systems or things like that. Equipment replacement costs are going to go down. Encourage your stakeholders to join your efforts and offer suggestions for how they can be part of your efforts in sustainability, right? Some other priorities to keep in mind, and then we'll wrap up with questions here. I know we're running just a little bit over, okay? Cybersecurity was brought up, and I think this is going to be a huge issue for all of us. It's a huge issue already for all of us too. It's lurking near the top of everyone's list of concerns. So I think that the use of AI in cybersecurity is the way to go, but we have to be really, really careful about that, because right now, if anybody was watching the news this morning, they know that cybersecurity is every morning on the news. Somebody is in this area. Soft skills and leadership are consistent management issues, but what's the soft skill? How does leadership work? That changes from time to time, and it might change from generation to generation, so we need to keep those things in mind. Political and economic factors are important, so just keep current on what's going on. As far as working with some of the problems where you work in your information on that can be a little bit. And then just to kind of close here, you all obviously, most of you, how many of you are certified PMPs? Okay, most of you are, okay. If you look at some of the things we're talking about, they're already in here. Matt pointed out at the beginning that AI is such a big issue with PMP, and if you go into the specifics of this too. But that's what's really important about PMI getting people involved in it. it crosses so many of the things we've been talking about this evening. And there's so many different ways for people to get value out of being part of this organization. Okay, Matt, do we have any questions that came in that we haven't answered yet?
I don't believe so. So does anyone have?
Anybody have any other questions before we go? Okay, great. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Another big round of applause for Mr. Levin. Okay, so thank you again for being members. Have a safe trip home. We hope to see everyone the first Wednesday of October, and then that first Monday and Tuesday at our symposium. Registration is open right now. We'll have a newsletter out tomorrow with the links. And yep, looking forward to the rest of 2024. Thank you again.